Voila! We are ready to roll. Okay.
We're pretty much doing the continuation of what we did last time. We're watching this episode and kind of talking about the nuance and maturity level in Star Wars or the Clone Wars writing, because fans like to talk about how nuanced and mature and
so deep for a kids show.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's one of the major talking points you hear in regards to the Clone Wars, and so we're here to really take a close look and see if what there is to see.
Once promising negotiations between the Republic and the Separatists are now in shambles. Following a droid suicide bombing on the capital city planet of Coruscant, the Senate overwhelmingly passes a bill to deregulate the banks, opening the gateway to additional troops. And an increase in fighting.
Because those are two inherently linked things. They're going to fight more because they have more troops to fight with, instead of, defending better or being able to,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Have more.
I know I'm asking a lot, but can you imagine if we had any vague indication of what either faction hoped to accomplish in this war? Like, what do the Separatists want? Do they want to just be their own thing? And the Republic isn't pleased with that? Is that how it's supposed to be? Because it looks like the Separatists are just on the offensive all the time, like burning planets down whenever we need a Saturday morning cartoon villain.
Yeah, no, we kind of talked about this a little bit last time, is that what the show seems to portray, at least tell us, is, the Separatists just want to separate. They want to be recognized as their own entity. But yeah, they're always going on the offensive and trying to take over independent planets. I mean, you've got that in season 4 with the Zygerian arc. They just go and kidnap an entire planet of Togruta just because.
There you go.
Well, we needed a villain for that arc, so we got to drop the nuance for a while, because we're also a kids show, I guess.
I guess.
It didn't stop Justice League or Justice League Unlimited.
I'm not familiar with this.
Deaths in that show were literally implied.
Well, I mean, they have their deaths here in TCW that are more than just implied. Because I watched this episode earlier today to kind of prep for it, and I love how it's unclear how much time has gone by, because at the end of the last episode, because the power had gone out, they were all in red, emergency power lights.
Mm-hmm.
But now I guess their power has come back on. It makes it seem like later, because it seems like it's the same meeting. No time has passed. This isn't a new meeting, but it also must be a new meeting, because at the end of the last episode, we saw Padme leaving with, Anakin and Ahsoka. But they're all talking right now as if it's kind of the same thing. But this senator here apparently has completely forgot what the order of events, so that they can have other characters explicitly remind him what the order of events were to catch the audience up.
We just make someone stupid so that the audience can get a lead back in. That's great.
It's so
a week has gone by
bad.
since the last time viewers saw.
Yeah, they just
was
called a
happening.
second emergency session. How often does the council even meet? These are questions that we shouldn't be asking, but I'm going to ask them.
May I remind the senators that the peace proposal was made prior to their assault?
That only highlights its insincerity.
In light of this unprovoked attack on Coruscant.
Unprovoked.
What counts as provoked and unprovoked in wartime?
Exactly.
I feel as though...
I mean, they hadn't even solidified the ceasefire at this point, so...
Not
Yes.
to
Everybody's
as to
still
whether or
fighting.
not it was justified or not, but I think it was provoked. I think all attacks during wartime are, by definition, provoked.
Basically,
A little bit.
yeah. No, I loved that line there. I was like, oh, okay.
I propose the Republic purchase an additional 5 million clone troopers.
I also love how
No,
the
that's
women-
5
5
million.
million?
because we can't do, complicated logistics because it's a kid's show. It's like someone just suggests buy, I don't know, 5 million. It's like, could we buy less? How many do we need? How many do we want? How many would allow us to accomplish whatever the fuck our wartime goals are? Is there anything else we could look to buy? Do you have a plan for this? Or are you just, have you just like put a bid on the table? I don't get it.
But it's also, this is the Camino senator. She's basically, I propose you buy more from me. Obviously, because that is what we need right now as a republic. And no one's like, why are you the one presenting this option? Like,
yeah,
what?
She doesn't get called out on this, does she? Like, you just want us to buy from your planet. Stop it.
Yep.
Nobody said. But Bale goes back to his at the beginning of the last episode, he was kind of talking economics, but then they're like, no, let's go a different direction with this conversation. But then here he kind of tries
the
again.
Republic is already operating in deep debt.
My people are drafting an emergency appropriations bill that would raise funds.
From the banking clan?
Do you have an alternate means of paying?
One alternative might be to stop the war, not escalate it.
Traitor!
Yeah, just stop the war. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that easy, folks.
Again, they immediately jump to like, whose side are you on? It's like, wouldn't negotiation be beneficial for like everybody involved? I'm not suggesting we surrender to stop the war. I'm saying we negotiate. Like,
It's so childish. Like, someone suggests maybe we could talk to them and everyone starts screaming for her blood. It's like, I cannot believe that this is what we're attempting. It's like somehow there is some deeper meaning to this as to the operations of government or whatever. It's just, they get bombed and the immediate response is everyone turns into a screaming warmonger. We cut around the entire Senate and everyone except our protagonists who are on the good side is just warmongering.
Yep.
But at the same time, spoiler alert, later all they need to break the tie, so it's like is like 6 votes. So it's actually extremely close.
Which means there's a bunch of invisible senators who are just keeping quiet during everyone chanting traitor at Padme, I guess.
I guess so.
Whoever attacked the power grid wants us to continue the fight. Not everyone in the Confederacy wants this. I know this for a fact.
You have separatist friends, Senator?
Whose side are you on?
Okay, one of those characters looks like one of those extra character models from Shrek the movie. Like
Also,
the senator with the white hat that went calling traitor in that particular sequence.
this was also brought up last time, but Padme is absolutely right. This is very conspicuous timing for this attack to have taken place at, and no one else, like, the only response she gets to putting together those dots is people just shouting at her. That's the best we've got, I guess.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, it's weird how, like, because, yeah, she brings up an extremely valid point. Like, okay, obviously somebody doesn't want peace, and then they're like, oh, well, how would you know? You have separatist friends? It's like, yeah, you probably do too, because everyone who's a separatist now, like, was part of the Republic.
Exactly.
That's, like, just 3 years ago.
A bunch of you, like, the majority of those others probably had separatist friends too.
Exactly. So it's like, but no, everyone's like, what? You have a separatist friend?
And everyone just goes back to shouting. Like, this is the best we can do for the politics
and so
scene.
then, of course, her point about, like, there's clear warmongering going on here, guys. And, like, I don't mean to point any fingers, but the woman who's suggesting we buy 5 million more troops is also the person selling those 5 million more troops. I'm just saying. But no,
Just
that
love
gets
the fact
completely
that it's
forgotten
only
because she has
specifically
separatist
troops.
friends.
You're starting to get a really, really compelling case there. It's like, we're already drafting this emergency bill to raise funds from the banking clan to buy troops from us, by the way. Oh, and isn't that a shame? Our only shot at peace just got sabotaged by a surprise droid attack on
Unprovoked.
Coruscant.
Oh no.
Just completely unprovoked. There was just no reason that this might have happened.
Wow.
Gee, doesn't all that
Honestly,
line
it
up
would-
great for Camino?
Honestly, it would have been particularly funny, but the writers would have the clarity to do this if someone brought up that those droids managed to get through some of the product that Camino already sold.
That would be a really good point to raise, yeah. You want more
Yeah,
clones?
You want
Droids,
5
like-
million more of your product to come to Coruscant to let more droids in?
Oh, that's so. Because the
How
whole point is,
stupid do you
this is
think we
reveals some
are?
vulnerabilities. It's like, yeah, clearly your product isn't doing so great.
Oh no, we're just gonna pretend that the clones are perfect.
The young senator from Naboo makes a point.
Why was he trying to defend? Where was he gonna go with that? I wonder.
I guess
he-
just to try and look moderate to cover his tracks, but I don't know if Padme actually wins people over, what's his plan? Maybe he knew that this message from Dooku was coming.
I guess so, maybe.
Your Republic forces have carried out a barbaric attack on our people. And among the deaths was the very sponsor of the peace accord, Senator Mina Monteri.
What?
I must formally withdraw the proposal for peace offered by our Senate.
We must not show weakness.
So weakness how? Like, what did he actually mean by that? Is he just shouting? He's just yapping to yap? Like,
I guess so. So, but then again, like the question of like how much time has passed, like it cannot have been very much. It's like, so obviously this supposed attack from the Republic came after the attack on Coruscant.
like it just amplifies the convenience of everything even further, or should, to all of the senators present. So the split-second piece is being talked about. There are two near simultaneous attacks on the Confederacy and the Republic, one on Coruscant and the other so happening to also kill the sponsor of the peace deal on the CIS side.
And it's
While also we have warmongers like actively pushing for the acquisition of more troops. Really, really lines up kind of conveniently.
Oh no, that's not fishy at all.
like it's not even necessary for Dooku to formally withdraw. Like, it's pretty clear that the Republic is a-okay with like pushing forward to keep fighting. I guess
Yeah.
it was just to cement the deal, but like
Well, I'd say it also was intending on getting the Separatists back into the war effort, because using the attack on them.
I guess so, but later we learned here I'll just we'll move forward.
Thank you.
He just subtly smiles,
The Republic spies are reporting that Senator Bonteri was murdered by Dooku's thugs.
Hold on. So, timeline again. When is this? Is this right after the meeting as they're leaving the meeting? Is this a couple of days later? How do you have that information?
And how come like nobody else has that information?
Yes. Okay, there's a few things here. If he has it, why didn't he say anything during the meeting if he had it at the time? If he didn't, I don't know what the timeline looks like. And if he didn't then and does now, why doesn't everyone else?
It's like, okay,
Honestly,
well,
this is like one of the sparse mentions of any sort of like the Republic having an intelligence apparatus in any capacity in the show at all.
You could be very easily forgiven for saying they don't, because anytime we need any reconnaissance or anything, we send one of our main characters on a spy mission.
Yep, apparently.
Well, it's also they mentioned spies in the Zygerian arc as well, but apparently those spies are really bad at their job because they literally just got a name and nothing else.
Oh.
It's like, oh, cool. That's super helpful.
And for a bit of perspective, in the expanded universe, Palpatine had like one of his top co-conspirators, Armand Izzard, as the head of the Republic Intelligence Branch, and he's the father of Yusan Izzard, who was his successor after the Republic transitioned to an empire, and then she set him up to get killed and took over as head of Imperial Intelligence. The only real other intelligence assets that the Republic has would be like the Clone Army's Special Operations Brigade, which is all Republic commandos.
I feel like
Some
this information right here would be like the straw that breaks the camel's back at the very least, in terms of, okay, there's something conspiratorial going on here.
Mm-hmm.
If we know or have reports that this peace offering senator was murdered specifically by Dooku's thugs, like we know it was Dooku's guys somehow,
Yeah.
I guess. How does this not raise any red flags to anyone?
Well, it also represents a potential opportunity, but the writers won't be smart enough to like actually address the fact that this could be used as like an intelligence counter-op and propaganda opportunity to divide the separatist government.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
No, it's because like I could see like, oh, you know, Dooku obviously wants to keep this war going, right, to the point that he's willing to kill one of his own senators, and like you could say, okay, well then he must have been, you know, attacking, you know, the Republic to also disrupt our, you know, potential vote for peace as well. But it's like, if he was going to just kill the senator who proposed the bill and use that as justification to retract the offer for peace, why go through all the trouble of attacking Coruscant at the exact same time? How would he even know to be attacking Coruscant at the exact same time?
There's also the fact that if Dooku and Palpatine were written slightly more competently, it would have shown up as like a Republic commando mission to assassinate the senator, and they wouldn't even have the slightest inkling that the senator would have been involved in the peace offering, and then it would like actually look like a Republic attack.
We were seeing Grievous setting up the droids for the attack on Coruscant even before Padme was talking to Mina. But then Grievous was like waiting until the vote was happening, basically, before putting his like signaling his droids to make their attack.
That is so weird.
Separatists just gonna do this attack anyways? Or did the writers kind of have them preemptively know that Padme was going to sway Mina to present this suggestion for peace to the Separatist Senate, and they would vote, yeah, let's do that?
It feels like the moment Mina, was her name, walked out of like the Senate Parliament or whatever.
Crosshair was already lining
yeah,
up.
she was like, Dooku was already like, right, she's gonna have to get rid of her, I guess.
And that's another thing, like the separatist side of it are just like, oh, that's funny, Mina's dead now. It was
weird.
Like, if the Republic spies know that Dooku's thugs is responsible for it, how do people on the separatist side not know that Dooku's responsible for it?
Yeah, I think the main takeaway at this point is that we are doing a really bad job with the great conspiracy of this entire war, because like all of these events within between a day, a week, maybe even a few hours of each other should have everyone raising their eyebrows, to say nothing of all of the rest of the shit that goes down during the Clone Wars and during the films. You'd think a lot of people would have a lot of red flags about this entire thing on both sides of it by now. Like, someone behind the scenes wants this to keep going, and they have communication on both factions.
If your friend met with a violent end because of her politics, let's make sure her courageous effort wasn't in vain.
What can we do?
For one, defeat this bill.
Can we really win this war with the troops that we have?
Let's hope we don't have to.
What do you mean, let's hope? You do have to. You're in a war.
Can't
We have to
afford it.
acknowledge that reality of, I know we like to talk about peace and whatnot, but the factions are actually at war.
Yeah,
Like,
and
they are
if the
fighting each other.
Separatists
There is,
succeed
yeah.
completely, then that's going to be a massive blow to the Republic as a nation state. Well,
Yeah. And like
Yeah.
you said earlier, Theo, like there's no discussion of, hey, maybe can we purchase a smaller number? It's just 5 million or nothing.
It's the only going offer, I guess. Take out a loan to buy 5 million or go home.
infantry and not capital ships, which is actually completely odd considering like they make the Vetters into mooks in this show.
Yeah. That's another thing you could be putting your money toward, like new technologies and things like that. I mean, we see the separatists like trying out new technologies.
Yeah, and we
Don't see the Republic ever doing any engineering.
I mean, we only, like, at the start of the show, we've got the Vetters and we've got the Micro Series V-19 Torrent fighters, bring back the Y-Wings. We don't see the EU's naval torpedo bombers or the Victory Star Destroyer, or later in the war, the Imperators, which later get renamed to the Imperials, Tector-class Star Destroyers, Carracks, Dreadnoughts, any of the Corellian engineering corporations, like smaller or frigate-class ships that they use for, like, fighter screening.
Well, evidently the Republic doesn't need any technological advancements because, as we've seen in this show, they win all the time.
But they can't defend their own capital.
Nope, apparently not.
A couple of like
Ammunition.
street sweeper droids managed to get into the main reactor that powers all of Coruscant or something to that effect.
Yep.
So
I also the opening narrator calls the what the droids did a suicide bombing. It's like they're droids.
yeah, bit strange.
They self-destructed, yes, but is that really a suicide? They're droids.
The show you really don't want to raise the question of whether or not droids are people in Star Wars show,
Yeah.
and by calling it a suicide bombing, you make people wonder, hey, are they people?
This show doesn't know what it thinks of droids.
The more I know about what the exact cost of this bill will be, the better I can make my case to defeat it.
All
Let's
of
go,
this,
Uncle.
all of the
You know
information
these big
about the bill
old
should be
people.
known
Plus-
when it's voted on. The bill should be handed out to all of the senators for them to read before it's voted on. Or is it just like,
Apparently-
hey,
I mean,
vote
it
on
would-
my bill. I'm not telling you what's in it, though.
Apparently the bill is literally what she said from her little hovercraft. I
just a
think we
little-
buy 5 million more troops.
Yeah,
What do you
Just
guys
a little
think?
sticky note with 5 million clones, ! Scribbled on it.
There you go.
You know, the
Check
funny
yes or
thing
no.
is, Theo, based off of the numbers that Karen Travis put forward for her Republic Commando books, that would literally be doubling the clone army at the time, according to her original numbers, because the total number in the Republic Commando books was like 5 million clone troopers for the Galactic War, which is a very small amount if you really think about it, and especially if you take a look at the galaxy map and all the battles that took place.
Yeah, but the clone troopers were supposed to just kind of beef out their numbers, right? They had just normal people fighting as well.
Supposedly, yeah.
Not in the context of this show, though.
Oh,
No, it's great.
All
It's actually a
clones.
little contradictory there later on. I had a lot of fun watching this earlier.
We will lend the Republic at our standard interest rate of 25%.
What?
That's outright theft.
Your previous arrangement with the Republic was 10%.
That was before deregulation. The Separatists don't seem to mind a rate hike. In fact, they just secured a loan to fund an additional 3 million battle droids.
is it not suspicious
let
at all that
Dooku-
you are being told this?
No.
You don't think there's anything to inquire about that? Hey, why did you tell us that? Wouldn't they probably not want you to tell us that?
And it's also like, well, if you're willing to just drop all this information about our enemies, can you tell us a little more, maybe?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
where the primary droid factories that they currently have running for resupply and the droid army with reinforcements are.
And it's also like, are you going to
So
be
we
telling
could
them
potentially
about
sneak a
how
Star
many
Destroyer
troops
in and bomb 'em?
we're purchasing? Like, is this a two-way street? You're just leaking information to both sides willy-nilly?
And this is the only bank in the galaxy, apparently.
Apparently. And then yeah, she's like, oh, I can't believe you would let Dooku like get a loan from you for that many troops. It's like, are you telling them to choose a side when they're very clearly on both sides and they're profiting from it? And you were mentioning earlier that obviously somebody's profiting from this and wants the war to continue. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
And
You
this
sound
is
like
the
a
same
conspiracy theorist.
institution that the
I
Republic
think
has
so, I
entrusted its
know.
money to.
Oh man, it's so blatant.
Yeah.
And and she's not like, I'm just gonna be recording this for later for no reason.
It would just be crazy if all of these obviously evil people were in fact conspiring with one another. That would just be crazy.
Ugh, couldn't
Not to mention this sort of
possibly.
shit wouldn't fly on Coruscant in the EU version of the Clone Wars just because you got pro-Republic paramilitary organizations like Comp were existing at the time. Well, I think I may have mispronounced it. Comnor, that would have been heavily pushing against such tactics,
Also,
especially from aliens, because
also like we over doubled the interest rates because we said so. That's just the reason. Just the interest rates going up. Why? You deregulated us. You, I guess.
Oh yeah, and she never even brings it up. It's just, oh man.
You live on Coruscant too.
We have no stake in this war, Senator. You know that. War is distasteful to all of us.
You know,
Are you sure
with
about
that
that?
amount of interest, your taxes are going to go up too, buddy.
The interest alone could completely bankrupt the Republic. As it is, social services have suffered because of this war. Education, infrastructure, healthcare.
We only need to sway another handful of senators, as long as they don't buckle to the threats.
What threats?
Some members have received messages warning them not to vote against the bill.
Is no one alarmed by this? Now there are threats going around too? Senators are being actively, like, physically threatened to keep them in compliance?
Yeah, okay, the woman puts forth an idea that you buy more stuff from her, and then when you're thinking of saying, oh, maybe we shouldn't, you get death threats.
You know, there's a word for this in criminal justice. It's called racketeering.
But also, because Padme earlier was like, oh, darn, like, will we have enough troops to win this war if we stop this bill? And it's like, again, they're kind of treating it like the clones are the only troops they have. Instead of it being like, yeah, we don't need to buy more of those troops. We'll just, like, look for more troops on Republic planets. It's still a loss of life, and that is a cost that's necessary to consider. But if your concern is money, you don't want to buy more cloned soldiers, then look elsewhere for your soldiers and be like, hey, we have a viable option.
I'm just going to say that the implication is there that Republic's planets don't necessarily want to ante up any of their systems or any of their citizens or defensive forces to actually defend the Republic, because they're just clinging on to comfort so much, and that's why they'd be so willing to pay for the clones, because they don't want to have to do the fighting for themselves, actually keep the Republic together.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well then why are you fighting? Like, if you don't care enough to actually, like, have a stake in the war, then why are you at war?
And how are both sides not pushing harder for reconciliation of some kind?
Yes.
A mandatory blackout is in progress.
Man, those two bounty hunters get over you.
Those two throughout this episode, the first time I watched this episode, me and the people I was watching it with, we were in tears laughing because of those two. Like, they're so absurd. I don't understand their role in this episode. I'll hold off for now, but there's specific scenes later.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
They're using scare tactics to sway votes.
I am not intimidated, Senator Amidala.
Then why are you voting for additional troops?
I happen to believe more clones are precisely what we need. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
but why? Why do you
Want to explain why?
And the thing is, like, because after this episode, throughout the rest of the series, like, because Padme succeeds, spoiler alert, in defeating the bill, and things just kind of go on, and it doesn't seem like it seems like they get
no
along
effect.
just fine without those extra troops. If anything, it makes what's her name, the Kaminoan senator, look worse, because if you got along fine without them, then yeah, it just more so makes her look like, oh, money, please. Can I have some money?
And then, nothing comes of all of these people getting threatened. And like, that person literally has their arm in a sling, and they're just like, no, this isn't the reason I'm deciding to vote the way I am. You don't think when he kind of realizes later that, like, right, now there's evidence that, like, this was all just bogus, trying to get more money. Maybe I know who to side with to, like, get rid of those kind of people.
It's really like the clones do not matter, because it's been established, or at least it is established later on in like season 7, that apparently all the personnel on like those big Star Destroyer ships, they're all clones, apparently.
Sorry?
There's like
That's so many clones.
yeah, but apparently like, because you've got idiots like
man.
Ahsoka who just like kills them off in droves by like destroying, like causing these Star Destroyers to crash or get destroyed by the enemy or whatever. Like, the clones do not matter.
You've got more in the back, I guess.
Okay, data file, Star Destroyer, Venator class, manufacturer, shards. Crew 7,400 people. Complement 192 V-Wing fighters, 192 ETA-2 Actis interceptors, 36 ARC-170s, 24 military walkers, 40 LAATI gunships and miscellent shuttles, 8 heavy turbo lasers, 2 medium dural turbo laser cannons, 52-point defense laser cannons, 4 Pronto torpedo tubes, 6 tractor beam projectors, and, well, depending on if they're like a model of Venator that has actually received Skywalker's designed modifications, the self-propelled heavy artillery turbo laser cannon on the dorsal hangar under the bottom side of the ship.
But yeah, like the Star Destroyers alone, 7,000 people in the crew, and they're all clones. That adds up pretty quickly. But apparently we can just get along fine without additional clones.
Not to mention those ships are actually capable of firing ground forces into combat, as shown during Revenge of the Sith at the Battle of Kashyyyk.
Right.
I think this short conversation here is so emblematic of the Clone Wars approach to quote-unquote nuance, where it's like, we set up that there are two sides, right? One side that says no more clones, we should look for peace. The other side that says we need more clones. But neither of them ever actually register or address the objections that the other one might have. Like, in this conversation here, what if Padme had asked the follow-up question of, okay, but like, what's the plan when all of the 5 million clones just bankrupts the Republic? And then maybe we can go from there in terms of a conversation, because then he says, how do you want to win the war without more clones? And then maybe we can get into it a little bit more and have some actual grayness in terms of what should be done. Maybe do some, actual politicking to maybe reach, shock horror, a compromise where, like, we get more clones, but not so many that we're just going to go bankrupt immediately and die.
No, that's asking way too much.
Discussion of military strategy, for one thing.
Yeah.
We can't have depth and nuance be too deep and nuanced?
True, the children are going to get bored. Which, yeah, the children might get bored, but stop saying it.
Exactly.
Stop saying that it isn't what it is. The show is a kid's show, and it very much is a kid's show. It is very eager to avoid this sort of subject matter and like actually tackling it. And it's probably right to do so if it's aimed at children. Doesn't make it well written though.
Two thugs jumped me, but I am fine. This will not change.
Hold on, just one more thing occurred to me. Like, the senator was just wandering around outside alone at night in such a strange place. Like when a blackout was about to happen, in such a place for the fish hoodlums to just jump him.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Because, like, in the beginning of Attack on the Clones, like the movie, then Padme's got like this entire guard with her. And I mean, yes, she's actively being because Newt Gunray is trying to kill her. So you could say, oh well, that's the reason. But it's like, okay, so you've got threats going around. You know there's danger right now. Where's your guard?
This looks like a job for the Senate Guard, wherever they are.
They're all
Wouldn't that
getting
be nice?
coffee at the same time.
I guess so. But
Must drink a lot of coffee. They're busy a lot.
but yeah, so it's like when they don't want guards to get in the way of creating problems for our characters, suddenly guards don't exist.
Can they not think of any other kind of musical entertainers besides the modal nodes at this point?
It's one of those things. It's like, I think this is why people are like, oh yeah, no, this is obviously geared toward an older audience because we have, you know, the camera lingering on strippers. Like literally this girl in the background is there throughout the entirety of this ensuing conversation. And it's like, okay, who is it there to entertain? Because like the conversation they're about to have isn't exactly like engaging for kids, but the entertainment.
Do they think they need to keep the adults interested? Yeah. Gross.
But it's just weird because it's like both the conversation and the entertainment in the background would be more interesting for adults, but at the same time, as we've been pointing out, this is very much a kids show. So it's like, why is this in here? It's just sus.
We've taken care of 20 senators.
So what if someone just looked in there and saw them receiving a message from some hooded figure? And also, can we talk about how these guys have apparently brutalized 20 senators into, or like suppressed their votes through physical violence or threats thereof? And
this looks like a job for the Coruscant security force, wherever they are.
They're still getting coffee, I guess, you know?
That's
20 plus senators have been like completely, yeah, the government is getting actively attacked to push a particular agenda. Whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
Where are the Jedi? Nobody knows.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, where are the Jedi, actually? Like, any of them? Are they all busy? Because you can usually find the Masters just up in the temple doing their taxes all day.
It's like, again, in the last episode, Ahsoka was just hanging out with Amidala for funsies. But then this episode, no Jedi. There is literally no Jedi at all.
I guess they're busy.
Guard. Still, nobody knows.
And this stuff isn't going to be talked about, right? Like,
no.
The fact that, hey, there's someone going around actively suppressing votes and whatnot, and a lot of our senators are voting under duress. Should we have anyone look into this, maybe? No? Okay, sure.
You'd think Anakin would be like, hey, honey, you're in danger? Guess where I'm gonna be for the next 2 weeks? Glued to your side. That's where I'm gonna be.
Literally.
Like, in previous episodes, she has, like, literally the last episode, she has gone to Anakin and be like, hey, I've got a problem. Do you think you could maybe throw your Jedi weight around a little bit? But in this episode, her life is in danger, and she's just like, nah, I'm not gonna bother him.
It's so stupid. I hate it.
The narrative so often is like, that would cause a problem for us. Let's pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah. It happens all the time. So frustrating.
It's just amateurish writing where
It is.
you recognize something doesn't let you have the line of events you want, instead of like trying to reintegrate or reiterate on what you're doing. You just go, whatever, I guess. Let's just ignore that. They're busy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad.
The clones, the Jedi, the Senate Guard, the police.
Yep.
they're
Everyone's
all-
very
None of
busy.
them exist for this
Very,
episode.
very busy.
Yep.
We don't see Padme as guards in this episode either.
No, just her aide.
Alderaan
Just
guard.
her aid, conspicuously name dropped in the episode.
Yep. I think this is like only one of 2 episodes that Tekla's really there, because she's in the season 6 arc as well, because she dies. But
She
I
is.
think those are like the only 2 times like she's a character.
Is she a
She's
character
barely
or
in the show.
is she a tool?
Well, she's obviously a plot device.
We're still at least 6 votes short of a majority.
Which is the exact same. Like earlier, he was saying a handful. Now she's saying 6. So obviously, you haven't lost very much.
If anyone can convince the Senate that voting for this bill will bankrupt the Republic, both financially and spiritually, it's you.
It will be dangerous.
Spiritually? It will bankrupt you spiritually?
What is that?
How?
I think because it goes back to what she was saying earlier about how, like, oh, you know, the healthcare and the infrastructure, the education, like, I guess she's
war
saying if
is,
we
in
lose
fact-
those things, we lose our spirit.
It would be bad to lose those things. I agree. However, you know, the war. What are we going to
There's
do about
always
that,
alternative
Padme?
methods to secure funding for vital services. Not everything needs to be covered by government.
It's also weird because Bale was speaking earlier like he was gonna write a speech, like present an argument, and now she's like, hey, can you like present a counter argument? And he's like, oh, I don't know. It's
When-
gonna
yeah.
be dangerous.
He was literally planning to do that. It's like, we're going to defeat this bill. Oh, you want me to defeat the bill? Ooh.
It's like, what is this? You just suddenly have him change his mind off screen so that now she has to try to convince him? Like, was he planning to just write the speech for her? That's not implied at all.
I'll need some time to prepare.
You've been preparing!
In the meantime, I'll pay another visit to those still.
Okay, so just note how there's clearly enough space for her driver here. I just want to point out that her driver can easily just stay right there.
I'll be parked just over there, my lady.
Gonna go
Alright,
a
bye.
block away for reasons.
Because
Yeah.
plot.
I don't even think that guard was actually armed.
And there can't be anyone else here, yeah.
I think he's just a driver. So again, it's like, it's night. You know there's attacks. Where are your guards? And Far, his arm is literally still in a sling from being attacked. And it's like, you don't want guards? Maybe? No? Okay.
What about the millions who are dying in this war?
Who? The clones? We created them for just that purpose.
They are people.
I love that. Because again, they're ignoring the existence of their regular armies. Oh, clones are the only people dying. What are you going on about? And then yeah, her response is like, but the clones are people too. Not like, the clones aren't the only ones dying, bro.
Even if they were, like, I don't know, surely all of these, it's the uncomfortable question the Clone Wars opens up regarding the clones and their personhood status, which it really shouldn't have done because of the way everyone else talks about them in the films and whatnot. They really don't seem to be like people as such in the way they are broadly treated. And broadly treated includes like our protagonists for a while.
Our protagonists in TCW are more friendly with the clones, or at least like the named clones.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else, there's just kind of like, yeah, okay, you exist, and oh, now you're dead. Keep fighting, guys.
But we won't send you reinforcements.
But I also love that the guy who got attacked, such that his arm is still in a sling, is part of the duo that's trying to convince people, yeah, you should definitely vote against this bill.
Yeah, no, that's kind of a
Wise
bad
decision.
move optics-wise.
The people I care about are my constituents.
And when was the last time you ever spoke to your people?
Probably the same time you did. Or you, Senator.
Is there anything we can do to get you to change your mind?
Where does Senator Organa stand on all this?
Senator Organa is preparing to speak before the full Senate.
I'll listen to what he has to say.
I think it's interesting we passed another full scene of politicking without explaining why anyone would vote in any direction. Again, people just ask questions that go nowhere. When was the last time you spoke to your constituents? When was the last time you did, or you? And then no one says anything.
So are you gonna vote yes or no?
Which is kind of funny when you consider the end of this episode, because that implicates Padme as well, if you know what I mean by that. She's not paying attention to her constituents either, is the clear implication there. And she doesn't like rail against that. She seems to like tacitly agree.
But then later her aide is the one who's like, but you care. You're always talking to the people. And then she's
that's
like,
the entire
oh,
crux of the episode.
So you'd think like Padme would be like, I mean, I spoke to my constituents yesterday. Are you saying you don't? But they just got to get the scene over and done with. Just this whole minute-long thing about like, hey, are you gonna vote with us? Please vote for us. Please. Well, what's Organa think? I'm just gonna randomly name drop him. Oh, well, he's gonna talk. Okay, that was a well-spent minute. Very well spent.
I don't think you, Padme, will be like necessarily be so interested in a piece either, because Naboo had actually suffered some attacks on their space during the war at the hands of Visage Ventress and Dirge. Like Gungan colonial sediment on one of Naboo's moons was actually wiped out by a bioweapon.
Right, yeah, because they have the Blue Shadow virus arc and in Children of the Force, I think. Those are the only two times I can really remember that we go to
and the
Naboo
Palpatine assassination
in
arc towards the
TCW.
end.
Can I give you a ride?
My driver's only a block away. I think I'd like to walk.
But Padme...
Don't worry, Uncle Ono. I can take care of myself.
Just...
Nope, Blaster, she's not armed. She can't take care of herself.
I love how he just kind of like lets her like, oh, okay.
Just
If
yeah,
you
all right
insist.
then.
I'm not just gonna like drive alongside you because I'm genuinely concerned for you. I've been attacked. Like, there's no way I'm letting my friend, who's kind of spearheading this whole thing, walk alone.
It's crazy that either of them would be okay with this.
Unarmed. I will remind you, she's not wearing a blaster pistol on her, so she's
She does
completely
have
unarmed.
something. She pulls it out later.
Okay, but if they were if they were behind you, they know you're yeah.
That's what's going down.
Alright, Padme's dead.
I love how these guys here.
Now
but
the police
not,
exist.
No, not the people who like literally were beside the alleyway when she got attacked.
Yeah, they were like 2 or 3 steps past it.
Put your hands up.
Sure is a good thing he took so long about
These
that.
bounty hunters.
We'll take care of this, miss.
What good is a droid that can't even withstand one blaster shot?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, it's a good point. You think
police
they'd make
droids
them a
are-
little more durable.
I really want to belabor that if the bigger fishman had taken like just a couple of seconds less of his sweet time, like
she'd be dead.
cutting Padme's throat, she'd be dead.
If he'd just done it instead of stopping when he was
instead
told
of
to
stopping
stop.
and having the dramatic close up and then, you know, moving the knife slowly towards her neck. And yeah, if Padme's dead, everything breaks. So I guess it's really, really lucky that he just took a moment there. He wanted to savor it, I guess. And it's also really lucky that the police exist exactly here and nowhere else, and they're droids and they suck.
It's also like, yeah, the fact that they're droids, wouldn't they be like relaying the information of what just happened here?
Yeah,
You'd
like an incident report to police headquarters and
then the whole reason that the bounty hunters get away later is because other droid police are so focused on Padme, like they don't understand what's going on. And it's like, wouldn't you know though? Wouldn't the little droids have like sent information? Because they're droids and they can do that like instantaneously.
We are now into the mandatory time-wasting action sequence part of the Clone Wars episode.
Yep.
Nothing to really say, it's just nonsense action that will be a waste of your time.
Yeah, but it's been so boring so far. So they have to throw like a 5-minute sequence, because this is literally...
God,
like,
it's so long.
5 minutes, because it started at 11 minutes, and it's over at 50... Okay, so 4 minutes. It's a 4-minute sequence smack dab in the middle of the episode that's like, we gotta have something in here to... There's been too much politicking. Make it action.
Too much of people talking in rooms, even though those conversations aren't interesting because they don't talk about anything, really. They just sort of say words at each other, and then the conversation ends, and we cut to a new scene.
So much talking without saying anything that the more I look at the dialogue, the more I see it in across TCW. It's like there's talking, there's nothing beyond talking.
Well, to be fair, talking without saying anything is a staple of politics.
Many mouths do no work. Seriously, why aren't you trying to knock him off?
Well, she
Not
is.
hard.
She goes and hits all these things that won't hurt him too much.
Seriously, you should have just tried driving into oncoming traffic with him and see how long he stays on then. That should have been her first thought after she picked up that damn hitchhiker.
Well, it's hilarious because in a moment she's going to purposely like drive close to a pile of boxes and then pull up at the last second so that he hits the boxes. It's like, okay, do that with like a bridge or something. Like something that would actually,
Or another speeder.
you know, finish him off. I can understand her not doing it to another speeder because like then you're putting someone else in danger. But a bridge with nobody on it, just like have him smash headfirst into a concrete, unmoving, like definitely going to damage him severely kind of thing. But instead she has him bump into these little lights. She bumps him into the boxes later. Like the only time she finally goes into something that again still won't hurt him, but at least knocks him off, is right at the very end of the fight because, well, now it's time to end this sequence.
And I'm willing to bet none of those things were Durasteel or Duracrete.
I think ripping open that metal thing might have an adverse effect on the vehicle's ability to function.
No, it's just a fuel line.
That is a stolen vehicle.
Those bounty hunters were trying to kill me!
Get your hands in the air.
You'd think droid police would be more effective.
You'd think.
You might hope that they'd exist at all until they save while also annoying our protagonist.
But it's like they would immediately scan her and identify her as a senator, and then you'd think they'd have the information from earlier where this same senator was attacked by 2 bounty hunters, and then suddenly the droids who relayed that information disappeared from the network, and now she's pointing, like saying, "Hey, bounty hunters trying to kill me." And you'd think they'd react to that, but no, you stole a vehicle. Who are you? What? Like, they have the information about the vehicle being stolen and nothing else.
Something about, her driver going missing, maybe, or this chase around town. I don't know.
Okay, how is it that the police that were pursuing her didn't notice the fact that she was being chased, and then allowed said bounty hunter to slip through the police cordon?
Well, because they need to
It's
make
like,
their grand
is this
reappearance
supposed to be a
later.
commentary on ineffective police systems?
They're robots, so...
Don't you think you should report this to the Jedi Council? There's nothing they can do. Who did it?
What do you mean there's nothing they can do? I think there's quite a lot they could do. You can't just dismiss the Jedi fucking council.
Again.
What if we get Anakin in here? Like we did, in the film?
Yeah.
Literally, just because this is episode 11, so 7 episodes prior, she asked Anakin to help. He's like, "Hey, it's outside of our jurisdiction." But then Ahsoka was like, "Hey, well then just let me do it, like just on the down low." And he's like, "Sure, okay," because we know the Separatists are involved, so that gives us license to investigate. And now it's very clear that you could say Separatists are involved in this because, I don't even know. But, all you have to do is throw the word Separatist around and, hey, my life is in danger, and Anakin would be there, off the clock, on the clock, doesn't matter. But, oh no, I'm not gonna tell anybody about this because there's nothing they can do.
So dumb.
There's just nothing they could do. We're not going to explain why or go into that at all. Just going to state that and hope you believe it.
Yeah, the show banks
They were
so
bound-
much on its audience not taking the time to think about literally anything.
Well, there is no time to think about literally anything. Because then we're moving on. I guess this is supposed to be her reason for why they can't do anything, because it's like, oh, well, they're bounty hunters.
Sea hunters.
Okay,
the
it's
Jedi
not like
Council can't
the
do anything
Jedi
about
haven't
that.
hunted bounty hunters before.
Cough, cough, Jango Fett.
Good question, Padme. Why does nobody seem to care? I don't know. Actually, in the universe, why does nobody care? Because they would. You can't just decide for your ham-handed political commentary that nobody cares about this stuff when they would. They do. They should. But they don't, I guess.
But again, they're only 6 votes short. Democracy
Somehow it's
seems
that
to be
close.
working.
There's how many hundreds in the Senate?
It's like, I'm not winning, so democracy's not working.
That's true, actually. Democracy is failing whenever it does things that I don't like.
Because, people are, I would understand if she's like, well, this is clearly wrong, but, everyone is getting, we're so far from getting the votes we need because everyone's being, threatened or this or that, right? Democracy is being killed, on the down low. But no, they're only 6 votes away. It's, oh, democracy is dead. It's like, you're just losing. Obviously there is some shady stuff going on, and that should be concerning. But if you're not gonna do anything about it, you're not gonna tell anyone. She's literally like, oh, the democratic process is being corrupted by people, levying threats and things like that. But I'm not going to talk to the Jedi Council. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to do anything. Ugh, nobody seems to care that democracy is dying.
I feel like Padme gets that treatment a lot in the Clone Wars, where she's just left to stand around and bemoan the state of things while ignoring obvious avenues she could take to, improve the situation on her own, even though, the things that are supposedly wrong shouldn't really be wrong.
You actually talk to the people. People like me. How is your family? How is the war affecting them? Well, it hasn't been easy. and it's only getting worse. Tell me how it's getting worse.
Okay, so I love this scene so much because of what it's trying to convey and how expertly it conveys the exact opposite.
I was gonna say, just the way she's asking, it sounds like, okay, give me info I can use.
It's so funny because we have Tekla comes to Padme like, you actually talk to the people, you care about what's going on in her lives, and Padme's response to that like line of praise is to ask what's going on in her life because she doesn't know. Because she doesn't know.
Yeah, and then she's like, give me the details, like the nitty gritty like details.
Yeah. And with, I guess spoiler warning for where we're going with this, the very first thing we see her ever do, having gained this information just now, is exploit it for political capital. She just parades Tekla up in front of everyone else. That's the very first thing she does, having learned this information.
The narrative does kind of cover for her in that, like, she wasn't the one who was going to make the speech, right? So in that sense, she wasn't doing this to prepare for that. But at the same time, just the way she's asking, and
that's what she ends up doing. And
it's what she ends up doing.
And how was she going to use this information if, well, Bale didn't get hurt?
Yeah, see, that's what I was going to say. It's almost like she was planning to maybe give that information to Bale because that's what he's kind of trying to do. He's trying to build this case, and she could be like, oh, well, I was just talking to my aide, and she's telling me about all these problems that their family is going through because of the war.
They drive in and drive around in circles around him, announce themselves loudly, slowly come to a stop in front of him. You're not gonna get away, and then hold up the gun. It's so fucking funny, man. I love these guys so much. These are the best Clone Wars characters.
They're super
motorbike bang.
Yeah. These are Dooku's guys right here. His top guys for the job.
His strongest soldiers.
Yeah. For his hardest battles. And this is going to be a hard battle.
The only thing they really needed was to be playing the Star Wars equivalent of Bad to the Bone.
And then these guys just...
But you want to... Whenever you're ready, guys, you have the shot. Oh, okay. All right. No, he just punches you.
It's just... Where did these guards come from? Why did they just suddenly... Like, it almost seems like it's an ambush. Like they planned this, but that doesn't make any sense.
How would they know that they plan to be here unless they already had these guys identified? At which point, I think you've got them. They're not very subtle about their allegiances.
Yeah,
it looks like they literally just spawned in from off screen.
Yeah. They're just suddenly swooping in from all directions. And then, you're absolutely right. All he has to do is take the shot, hop on his friend's bike, and make a break for it. But no, it's just like, and then Bale punches him and tries to get away.
This long, extended shootout of no one hitting anyone.
It gets better. Okay, you gotta watch. Okay, so that's Bale's ship that he's hiding behind. This becomes very pertinent.
Seriously?
They just keep shooting beside him for this whole next bit. Like, the only reason Bale gets hurt is because the guards don't move their shot over to hit the thing they're supposedly aiming at. And so he has time to be like, oh, dang, there goes my cover and my target. I better shoot at my target.
It's just the most hilarious omni-shambles of a scene. Like, everyone's missing. No one, I don't think a single character has undertaken a, legitimately correct course of action once. Everyone is missing every shot they fire. Like, no exaggeration. Every shot that gets fired misses, pretty much.
But it gets better because...
And then 2 fucking cars have crashed already.
But it gets better because it's gonna go back to the bounty hunter in a second, and the guards stop firing and approach him and get him to surrender.
It's like, he's still shooting, guys. Oh, there we go.
Like, they're shooting past him. He shoots at a senator, so they stop shooting while he is still shooting at the senator.
They are really lucky he's as shit of a shot
like,
as
hey,
he is.
Stop that now. It's just flash and spectacle, and like, there's no substance.
This is
Nothing.
a complete waste of your time, and like, all it serves to actually accomplish is getting Bale injured so that we can have Padme do her thing later. Because there was no other way of concocting that series of events, I guess.
No.
Or they felt that they needed to wrap this bit up somehow. Like, we got to get the fishmen caught somehow. And we couldn't have done that earlier, I guess.
I feel like this is kind of disrespectful to Bale, especially in light of everything he did in like the EU version of the Clone Wars.
I mean, it's really clumsy. Like, this entire affair is really clumsy.
But I guess I just find it funny that, again, like, Bale doesn't have any personal guard with him. He just happens to be the only lucky person who there's, like, guards nearby who actually react when someone's, like, in danger. And just comes swooping in magically, like...
You must come quickly. You need to see something.
It's such a weird way to say, he's been attacked. I need you to come and talk. Like, I've got him on the phone. You gotta
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You need to see something.
You must address the Senate. Only you can do this.
Why can't anyone else?
It's also like, could you maybe give me your notes? Like,
I was about to say,
send
maybe.
me your speech. I'll just, like, read
Can I at
it.
least have the bullet points, maybe?
Because you got a lot of information in there that you've been gathering this whole time, which might be helpful to me.
Yeah, because he's been in the background apparently doing politics, which I'm sure would have been nice to know about at all. But Bale's only role in this is to just provide a little bit of information, instigate a little bit, and then get taken out so that Padme can take the stage.
And reluctantly at that.
Yeah.
I told Senator Organa I'd allow him to speak. We've waited long enough.
I
Wait.
agree with Senator.
Do they not know that he's not here?
Yeah, when I was watching this earlier today, I was like, nobody's been notified? Like,
And the
was
media didn't make the story.
He literally about to drive to make his speech? Like, he was running late?
The Senate's in session?
Yeah,
without...
waiting on him. And it just happened. So, like, he was obviously running late.
Yeah, and why is Padme late as well in that case?
Because, yeah, she's not even, like, all dressed up and ready to go. Like, her aide is about to come with, like, her wig and such like that. Like, her headpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's not ready to go yet. But they're all waiting and have been waiting.
Man, you gotta love that. Bale is
Let's
literally
vote.
like, we need to defeat this bill, and then he runs late when he needs to deliver the speech, and then after he gets hurt, he's like, Padme, wing it.
It's like, this is just for the stakes. They're like trying to raise tension here. But yeah, they're not thinking about what this is saying. Do you just write stuff and not think about it?
Of course not. Why would you think about what you write?
But they're expecting to hear from the great Bail Organa. He's seen as a voice of reason.
You are very respected.
As a partisan, I've been against this bill from day one.
So has Bale!
He was out there in the Senate being against it on day one. I remember that.
Yes!
It was in this episode.
No!
And also, how long ago was that? The Republic as like a governmental machine cannot move quickly just because of the scale it operates on. So how long has it been? Like a week? They decided let's have a look at a vote. All right, 1 week later, okay, we're voting. We're voting on that thing we discussed last week. That's crazy.
Vote
Our
yes or
governments
no.
don't move that fast.
Well, when you put as much effort into your bill as, you know, a sticky note that just says check yes or no, like, I guess there's not much that needs. Like,
Give big
Oh.
money for more clones, thumbs up emoji and thumbs down emoji.
It really makes you wonder, like, why were there all those times where the Senate was supposedly moving so slowly that, like, people were just left to die, basically?
Yeah, this really doesn't look like a government bogged down in, like, excessive bureaucracy.
Nope.
Because this is massively, like, unheard of levels of efficiency for the government.
Yeah, and it's like, if they would at least give us some sort of sense of the passage of time. But, like, yeah, we can't tell if it's been a week or a few days. It's almost like it feels
Yeah.
like it's just a few days.
At most, even. Like, we've seen, what, 2-3 night times, maybe, I guess?
Yeah,
2,
like,
I think, actually.
Padme still has the scratch on her face from when she got attacked. Like, that hasn't healed.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very recent. This is a few days. Based
Incredible.
on what they're giving us. So the Republic moves lickety-split fast, but is apparently bogged down in bureaucracy that can't go anywhere. And that's why the Separatists are leaving. And, like, because...
Show versus tell, folks. Show versus tell.
Speaking of show
they didn't
versus tell, do you like the way Padme, like, flatly states Bale's traits as, like, a political force, and then we have the other guy just say, "You're very respected." That's... I guess we needed to know these things, because it sure didn't seem like it when everyone was jeering her every time she spoke a single word. I don't think she's that respected.
They kind of put in the work. I think the entire reason they have that conversation with the Quarren senator is to have that kind of build up to, oh, Bale, right? Like, I'll listen to Bale. So they put in the work for that. But then, yeah, maybe you could read it as Anaconda is, like, just lying.
He's just trying to gas her up, like,
Yeah.
no, they like you. Yeah.
It's all good. Oh, they like you. You're okay. But then she raises a very good point, right? Like, and we were also shown the Corn Center is like, I will listen to Bale. I'm not gonna listen to you. But then she goes and she makes a speech that, you know, isn't Bale's speech. She's just speaking on his behalf, but says all her own stuff. And they're like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to her.
Imagine if we could have people, like, sincerely having their minds changed, rather than the narrative essentially deciding when they are or are not convinced, as befits its, like, ham-handed attempts to get some political message across. Because, like, what is the message supposed to be from all of this?
Well, the little quote at the beginning of this episode is, "Truth can strike down the specter of fear."
Well, it's a shame there's not much truth-telling going on here then, I guess.
But keep in mind also that the quip for the last episode was, "Fear is a great motivator."
So which one is it? Hold on.
So fear is a great motivator, but then truth can strike down the specter of fear.
Okay, so truth is currently winning the power scaling. Does
I guess so. Like, if truth is stronger than fear, but fear is a great motivator, is truth a better motivator, or is it like an anti-motivator?
Yeah, because I don't think truth is a great motivator follows as well necessarily. Like, it can be, but sometimes you tell the truth and it's bad in terms of motivating people to do the thing you want.
Yeah, but I think the bigger thing here is exactly what you said. Where is the truth in this, right? Like,
because what we're going to see from Padme is, if you frame it like it should be, like it actually is, rather than what the show wants you to think, it is an extremely cynical attempt by a politician to exploit one of her own constituents for political capital by essentially throwing her hardships in front of everyone else and making it their problem when it is not their responsibility. That's the resolution of this episode. And that's what we're supposed to clap and cheer for. And apparently that is, like, the truth that strikes down the specter of fear, is that you should care about your people. Actually, look, see, because here's my person that I didn't care about until, like, a few
Just
hours ago.
Because it was convenient for me.
Why would they listen now? Because you do listen.
Why would they listen to me? Because you listen.
What?
I don't think that's going to make them listen.
No.
I don't think that bears on anything. You know,
Me
every
listening
time Padme speaks, starts screaming at her. Like, Tekla, I don't know if that's going to help.
Like, I'll listen to them screaming at me. How does that make them listen to me? Like, it literally, Tekla's response makes no sense.
Nope.
You understand what the people are going through.
But
Your
the
people
clones are
waiting for
people
you.
too. But we don't actually
us
care
now
about
vote.
them.
The opposition to this bill must be allowed to speak first.
Unfortunately, Senator Organa is nowhere to be found.
I
What do you
That
mean he's
guy-
nowhere to be found?
That guy is literally Dracula. And, yeah, again, it's like, has no one been notified that Senator Organa has been attacked and is on his way to the hospital?
Speak on his behalf.
Oh, you will?
Senator Amidala will be permitted to speak.
See, what Dracula guy should have done is say, I will speak on his behalf.
Yeah. And then the blue guy would just be like, oh, thumbs up then. Okay, off you go.
And it still
Just
makes
give
me
a terrible argument and voila.
But again, it goes to show that, like, Bale was very clearly part of the opposition. But then Padme's like, they won't listen to me. I've been opposing this bill since day one.
So was he, and they were ready to listen to him.
Tekla Mina.
The first words
Gesundheit.
out of her mouth.
Tekla is one of my aides. Like so many of the people that we tell ourselves we're here to serve, Tekla lives in a district that rarely has electricity and running water as a result of the war. Her children can now only bathe every 2 weeks, and they have no light in which to read or study at night. The Republic has always funded these basic services, but now there are those who would divert the money to the war.
I love how her speech is being televised across Coruscant in such, like, blatant way. Are all of their Senate meetings televised like this?
Yeah,
Boy,
what
do
the
I hope
heck?
not. This is
I know
also
that
she can have her big
questions are,
cynical hero moment.
I really hope that moment in the last episode when the Neimoidian was like, Dooku said he was going to stop this vote. I really hope that wasn't televised.
That sure would cause a little bit of panic, I think. I don't know.
I know that there are ways to see what our government, like, those things are recorded, they are public, of course, but not in this way. And the way this is, like,
Definitely
it's like,
not in your face like that.
are they doing this for every single Senate meeting? It's just everywhere you walk, you're constantly seeing your parliament in progress. Like,
I don't know if I like the sound of that.
exactly.
All of our people. This war is meant to save them from suffering, not increase it.
But again, you're fighting an enemy that has been shown to be pure evil. You literally have people who believe they're animals and cannot be reasoned with. It's like, okay, yes, they can only bathe every 2 weeks and then they can't read at night. You make sacrifices.
Yeah, it's a really gross, moralizing, emotional manipulation. Because first off, hey, isn't that one of your constituents, and thereby kind of your responsibility to take care of them? Just, asking for a friend. But mostly, I don't know, man. Do you know what's going to happen if we lose this war?
Exactly. I'm thinking back to, like, from World War II, like, there were rations and, people were working in factories. Like, things weren't nice and pretty, even for those back home. Right here in like North America, it wasn't living on easy street with sacrifices were made. And it's like, but we did those things because we believed, hey, if we lose this war, it'll be worse.
And nobody offers that like really easy rebuttal because we don't have any understanding of any of what's at stake here. We don't know whether or not they need 5 million clones. We don't know if they could get by with 10,000 more, because they seem to be doing just fine with the amount of clones they have, as you guys identified as the show goes on. They are doing just fine.
Just for frame of reference, Theo, it would be in this context the first Battle of Geonosis, but in the Battle of Geonosis, there was exactly 16,000 clone, 16 acclimators, which total to 192,000 clone troopers on the field at Geonosis.
Mm-hmm.
That's including like armor, gunships, and such.
Yep.
So
I seem to recall that the number of clone troopers they give in Attack of the Clones being incredibly too small for the scale of a galaxy. But, you know, they said that's how many you need. You know, whatever, you accept it. But even here, it's like, belabored this enough times by now, but like, would 3 million clones suffice? Would 1 million clones suffice? And is there any way we can negotiate in terms of the amount we pay for them? Or is it just does the banking clan really get to just set the rate and then that's that? Okay, we're done. Cool.
It's like 25%. Like, you're not gonna bring that up? 25% interest?
No, we have to stick to Padme's fucking annoying moral arguments that aren't actually like actionable in any real way. Which is everything she's saying is really, really nice, but it's the kind of really, really annoying niceness that doesn't actually have anything behind it. It's like, yeah, let's just stop the war. How do you intend to do that?
We literally tried. He just formally revoked their offer for peace because apparently we killed the senator who's like, hey, let's have peace, guys.
Nothing weird about that. I don't know what you're on about. And
and we're not going to bring up the fact that his thugs were the actually responsible, and you have
because this is just known. It's so crazy. We just stick to, guys, look at Tekla. She's really sad. Look at Tekla be sad.
And then, of course, the narrative makes sure to show Tekla like supporting Padme using her in this way.
Yeah. Because this is what she wants, even though this is televised everywhere, by the way. So Tekla just kind of became a celebrity overnight against her will.
And a target.
Yes, and a target.
I'm just gonna paint
and we've got our first instance of clone troopers in this episode on the platform.
Oh, wow. Well, no wonder we need more of them, because they're all just standing around doing nothing.
Coffee break is over.
My goodness.
Nope, they're still on coffee break. They're not holding blasters.
Yeah, none of them are doing anything. They're just a gaggle.
Yeah,
they're just there.
Gaggle of clone troopers going to a clone bar.
Yeah.
It's great.
Support our brave soldiers, whether they come from the clone factories or from any of the thousands of systems loyal to the Republic.
That is the only
that
time
we never see
that they're mentioned, that their existence is acknowledged.
It is our duty and our responsibility to preserve the lives of those around us.
Oh, look, there's the tea in the background.
By defeating this bill.
What if we preserve the lives of those around us by ensuring that their safety is defended from the hostile entity that's currently attacking us? And you've seen what they do to every planet they seem to go to, where they just do the most hilariously, cartoonishly evil stuff to the locals every single time. That might be defending them.
They've literally just proved that they can reach us here.
Do you think maybe that might be involved in defending us? Or defending them, rather? And the uplifting music over all of this is so annoying.
Yeah, again, it's telling you how to feel.
Yeah. Ham-handed political messaging with no actual substance behind it. There's nothing you can really take out of this other than it's good when people have good lives. True.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree. I don't know about you guys, but I agree.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, this isn't even, like, teaching kids about politics. There's no substance at all.
You could have some like real like dramatic irony / tragedy to this if we had like arguments about sacrifices needing to be made to ensure like this, that, or the other security of the Republic here and there being made with total sincerity, with the knowledge that we have that Palpatine is behind it all. Do something in terms of messaging about like abuse of the political systems and whatnot, and manipulation to particular people's ends and goals rather than working to serve the people, which is what they're trying to do, but they're not interested in actually doing it. They just want to sort of state that to be the case and then defeat it with an uplifting moral argument that doesn't really bear on anything.
It's like, and they're showing us so much blatant corruption, and it's like, we're not going to try to do anything about that? Like,
No. Padme never seems to care about the corruption. She just bemoans that it
just
exists.
rolls with it and
Yeah.
is sad it exists and keeps trucking on. But you want to know something really hilarious that I just saw? This is the teen
Yeah, I said
in the
that
background
earlier.
here.
Oh.
I pointed that out.
Oh. Oh my. Oh.
I guess the team forgot to appoint a new senator after the guy got killed in that episode back in season 2.
She's like staunchly independent. The Republic Senate has a background filler.
It's funny, dude.
And they're like, and talking about corruption too. It's just so fitting.
Like, no, nobody will notice. It's okay.
That's so amazing. I can't believe they did that. You had no other like character models you could put there. Why are they clapping? You don't have to clap, guys.
This isn't a social obligation thing. Like, I think it's supposed to be a, man, I disagree with you, but I respect it sort of thing. But that's really annoying, because what should you care about any of that? Padme parades her impoverished constituent in front of you.
And I mean,
damn, that's really sad, I guess.
Haminoan lady especially, it's like, lady,
Yeah.
you just lost out on 5
yeah.
million. Like,
You're essentially actively conspiring with the sinister forces at play. Like, you could always be like, no, I still think this is bullshit because we still need the clones. But then again, one side would have to make an argument beyond like the first sentence, I guess, for any of that to happen. Maybe they thought it would be too on the nose to show them sulking because their bill got defeated because everyone's clapping. But I don't know.
But then again, it's this monolith, right? If
Yeah.
everyone's just cool with this, then why does the war keep going on if they're just like, you know what? We don't need more troops. We could totally, do peace negotiations. Like, there's other options.
When apparently the Senate was split basically right down the middle, 50-50, to the point where it was, like 6 votes or so that swayed it?
Yeah, they just needed 6 votes and she won over the whole Senate, apparently.
Very cool.
Even the bad guys are like, you know what? She's right. I'm begrudgingly, I gotta clap for her. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Tell me which side you want me to root for.
My own interests suck, actually.
For now, we must adhere to the principles of our democracy.
That's all we got in terms of commentary. And then Palpatine and Blue Man just say, well, sure, I guess.
Ah, shucks. We
As if
tried
this-
our best.
As if this couldn't theoretically massively hurt their interests in all of this, assuming does this not pave the way to like more peace negotiations, or I don't know, does this not pave the way towards the Republic losing war? Would that be bad for them? I don't know.
There's no repercussions to speak of because the next episodes move on to something new. And
Yeah, this arc is gone after this. That's the funniest part. That's it.
Yeah.
We're done. We handled it. The entire
Mhm.
like writing room are like high-fiving each other, patting themselves on the back. Did it. On to the next thing.
TCW hides behind its claim to anthology.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, we're an anthology. We just tell little snippets of stories, right? So, like, you know, a story happens here, a story happens there. Nothing affects anything else. It's like, then why are your fans, like, crying because this is peak writing, so deep, so nuanced, so rich, so, like, there's so much. It's like, no, it happens, and then 2 episodes later, it never happened.
Which, I don't know, I tend to think that in wartime, especially in such a short amount of time as this war seems to take place over, things do in fact affect each other, which is, you know, that's crazy to say, but when people like do things in a war, it changes who is winning that war or who is losing that war or the current status of it. Like all of these special operations and secret missions, and even just, you know, whether or not we get more clones, that has implications on how the rest of the war goes. There's a version of TCW where, like, after this decision gets made, we have a bunch of, like, throughout a bunch of, like, you know, the clone, like, actual war focused arcs later on, we could have maybe just in throwaway lines here or there, the idea crops up that they've got manpower shortages. Like, they just don't have enough people to do all of the things that they want or need to do.
But then Padme's argument wouldn't look as good anymore.
I thought we wanted to be morally grey. My bad, I guess. Because
Yeah,
if you really wanted, yeah, I guess so. If you really, really wanted to, you could have Anakin, like, try and shoot down those sorts of ideas, or like whatever Jedi is present. You know, so we have manpower shortages. Like, oh, we'll have to make do with what we've got. We're, you know, the best, so we can do it anyway. Or this is what's necessary for peace, blah blah blah, or whatever the hell, you know. You could start the conversation and just keep the thematic ideas and trends running throughout the show, but they're just not interested because it's a kids show. And because it's a kids show, it wants to just move on to the next, like, big set piece and action thing to keep children interested, which is fine, but it doesn't exactly, this isn't good kids show stuff because it's trying to be more and it's failing really, really, really hard at trying to be more.
It wants to give the appearance of more, and I guess it does a good enough job at that because of how its fans praise it up and
Guess
down.
so.
But when you actually pay attention, when you actually sit down and think about it, instead of just consuming it with your brain turned off, which, I mean, I'm not gonna, like, that is a perfectly valid way to consume entertainment. I do it. Everybody does it. Sometimes you just want to sit down and enjoy something. That's fine. But then, like, if you want to claim, oh, this is peak writing, oh, it's so deep and nuanced, it's like, okay, you can't make those claims if you've never thought about it.
Yeah,
Like, you actually have to dig into the material with your brain turned on to be making these claims.
Yeah, and this is kind of just a boring episode in particular.
Yep. This episode has nothing to say, and its action sequences vary from incredibly boring to a hilarious omni-shambles of failure that is funny, like, in only the most ironic of terms.
I mean, if they were going to go ham with having the bounty hunter getting hit by obstacles, I feel like they needed to up the ante to at least make it funnier.
Yeah, we need, like, slapstick cartoon sound effects over that scene, and then I think the episode might be
has
good.
him hit his head on those little, like, lead things, and that's funny. Ha 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 ha.
Very
she
funny.
Into boxes,
No,
and then
we
she
needed
smirks
Looney
like she
Tunes or Tom
did
and Jerry
something
type.
effective.
Because we have to have Padme be, like, an action hero all the time as well, I guess.
Girl power!
Not like she already wields a lot of power in the Senate, and, you know, that's what kind of makes her an interesting angle in Star Wars, but that's okay.
Nah. The fact that she can kick butt, that's what makes her a role model, not her brain. Psh.
True.
Honestly, this is why I prefer Leia over Padme, especially in the EU.
I need to.
Padme has some EU stories too, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's like a few, like, short espionage tales and such, and, like, diplomatic stuff, but it's not the same to all the stuff that's done with, like, and, like, the post-Endor horror period.
Yeah,
and I really don't think that Padme is like given quite the same like wisdom that Leia does, even within like Star Wars: A New Hope. Because there's what comes to mind is that one line that Leia is talking about Han, how he chooses his own path. We can't choose it for him, and it's more or less consoling Luke about Han's choice to leave.
To take the money and run. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Padme's content got cut, unfortunately,
from the prequels.
Yeah.
I remember the deleted scenes as well.
But yeah, no, this I mean, I know in our reaction series we were actually quite happy with most of Padme's content. I mean, like, I remember praising like, I thought it was stupid that she took that walk alone at night, but the end speech she makes, I'm like, hey, you know, good for her, right? Like, yay. But yeah, like taking a second look at it and being like, oh wait, let me think about this more. It's like, oh no, this doesn't make sense. No, this doesn't work. No, this isn't a good look on her. And it's
the writers just like sort of put everything the way they wanted it to be, to have the sort of idea they want conveyed, regardless of how it actually makes any of the characters look under closer inspection. Because Padme comes out of this looking like a really cynical politician.
But I mean, yeah, even what we were kind of saying earlier, where it's like, oh, I guess Bale was just running late and she was running like the Senate is in session and they're just kind of like dragging their heels. It's like, isn't this kind of important? You've been going on about this, how important this is. We must defeat this bill so that Mina's death is not in vain. I'll get there
Rules
when
are just
I get
not
there.
Yeah, you know, 5 minutes is 5 minutes, I guess. Who cares? They'll be right.
It's just the little things. So often with TCW, it's the little things.
Death by
And
1,000 cuts, as it were.
And it's not as if they were low on time. If we cut back on some of the really, really pointless action, we could have had longer conversations about like the core subject matter of the episode. We could have spent more time like building up each of these people's perspectives. I still think we shouldn't be handling this in 1 or 2 episodes, but
yeah,
if we really have to,
get cut
even
down
still,
no
we
matter
have
how-
more time.
It's going to get cut down due to length, and then anyway, just you wouldn't be able to show that at many perspectives in such a short amount of time without heavily being reductivist on their arguments and positions.
Not if you showed it across like several episodes instead of just 2.
Yeah,
like
I know, that's what I'm saying.
imagine this debate takes place over the course of the whole of this season, right? And then culminates at the end of Padme's like arc throughout that season. Like we lose the whole anthology thing, but I feel like we're at a point of what does the anthology thing actually give the show, other than I guess a sense of novelty every time you boot up an episode. Like, where are we going to be next? What
You don't have
exciting
to
new
watch
locale?
what came before in order to understand what you're seeing now.
Yeah, unless I guess you come in halfway through an arc, in which case, sorry, I guess.
But for a while, like, I didn't even realize that this episode was connected to the last episode, because it's kind of its own thing. Like, it tailgates on it,
Yeah.
but it really is handling something brand new, because
It's
instead
a
of talking
concern.
like the
Yeah.
banks have been deregulated, that's all said and done. Now they're talking about, oh, are we gonna buy 5 million more clones or not? Like, it's its own thing. It could have happened right next to this attack. It could have happened 2 seasons later, and you really wouldn't be able, except for having that kind of recap at the beginning. They're not all that codependent as an arc.
The second one just sort of springboards off the first, and they can only really be said to be dealing with the same subject matter insofar as politics is a single subject matter, because they don't really have, neither episode really has much to say about much of anything. It's just politics is a thing that happens, and sometimes bad things happen in it.
There's so much they could have done. But as you kind of put it in the last video, Theo, their bleeding time, it's like sand running through their fingers. They're just like, how do we get rid of as much time as possible so that we can do as little as possible and still have a full episode?
It comes across almost as like they sit down and it's time to write like a dialogue scene and everyone's just like, really? More dialogue? Can't we just like design an action set piece instead? Or
how can we have them say something without actually saying anything?
Yeah.
Just to fill time.
We need them to talk about this, but like we can't actually have them talk about it, because if anyone in this arc especially, like if we had characters actually talk about the events going on around them, the whole conspiracy with Palpatine and Dooku gets uncovered and the films can no longer happen. So we can't really have people talk very much, or at the very least we can't with the sort of information we've had rolled out. So we've got cascading problems creating more problems, because the way we've decided to set up the arc means that we can't have people have conversations whatsoever, which means we can't develop perspectives, which means the entire arc is essentially a waste of time, and it's like botched in conception at that point.
Yeah.
Why would you even do this if you're not interested in talking about perspectives on the ideas?
Because they're just
wants
trying
to
to
pretend
pump out
it's
kids
deep.
content.
Yeah, just for kids.
Okay, so that's that, I guess. Is there anything more that needs to be said
I think I'm happy.
that we haven't already said? I have to get better at this. I tend to beat the poor dead horse.
Yeah, I'm the same.
But, it's like sometimes you feel like you got it because you keep saying the same thing over and over, and the TCW fans are just like, "It's so amazing!" You're like, "No, okay. Do I have to say it all again? I thought I made it clear enough last time."
We'll make sure it like gets through this time. I don't know.
But yeah, I guess that's that then.
Well, this was fun.
Okay.
Yeah,
I agree.
I enjoy these.
This was a lot of
Do
fun.
it again sometime.
I'd rather watch the micro series.
That would be fun, yes. But unfortunately, that doesn't make for good YouTube content because YouTube hates the good Clone Wars.
Yeah, it only likes the bad Clone Wars. Well, to be fair, it's not so much YouTube, it's Disney.
Yeah, no, Disney wants to. That never happens. Don't go comparing what we want you to like to what we're just trying to shove under the rug there.
But also, we can choose from that stuff constantly if we want it. We're just going to scavenge it for member berries.
Well, see, that's why they don't want you to go there. Because they're like, we're going to use that differently later, and we want you to think it's fresh. And we just came up with this all by ourselves.
Very badly.
Okay, it is getting late.
Actually,
It is indeed.
I think we didn't do too bad this time.
Yeah,
It's only
considering
like
we
quarter
started
after
just
9.
after 7, and
I guess
and we
because there was
finished
less to
basically
go over in
at
that
9.
episode.
Yeah, because so much of that episode is just dead air, right?
Yeah.
When it got to, it's like, oh, it's another empty politics scene, or oh, here we go, it's time for the 2 action scenes that take up so much of that episode.
Yes. 4 whole minutes.
How long
When
is
you
the
only
episode in
have
total?
22 minutes?
Jesus.
Like, that's a lot of time.
That is like a double-digit percentage of your episode, and it's just on an action scene that accomplishes basically nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it just stands there to fill dead air, because it's not a scene that like results in some big shift in what we have going on or whatever. No, they go after Padme, and Padme gets away, and then we return to the status quo.
You know, and the guys get away so that they can hurt Bail later.
Yep. We just didn't do anything.
Which would have happened if they hadn't gone after Padme. So
Nothing about the episode changes if you remove that entire sequence. It's so funny.